Okay, so here is the four-way hip mobility sequence. Now, this is a strength training exercise workout for your hips. This is not the yoga type flexibility stuff where we're going to be, breathing into stretches. We are going to be breathing, but my point is you're going to feel like you're working out a little bit. And you're going to feel like the muscles around your hips are getting challenged too. And that's a good thing. You should. Because as we established, the only way to really build lasting range of motion and the only way to really rid your hips of pain and really your body in general is, to stretch, but also to strengthen those weak muscles. So that's what today is about. Now, it's going to take some time, but I want you to pick positions that allow you to really relax into it and focus on the quality of the contraction and not compensate, by doing things like rounding our spine out. Okay, so we're going to be operating out of what's called the 90-90 position for these first two exercises. And in case you're unfamiliar, the reason why it's called the 90-90 is one leg, your front leg, is at a 90-degree angle. So from your hip, your knee is straight out and your ankle is straight out from your knee. Now, when you get into this position, if you find it's a little uncomfortable, that's okay. I'll give you some modifications. To complete the 90-90 position, you're going to take your back leg and do kind of a similar shape. From the hip, the knee goes straight out, and then from the knee, the ankle goes straight down. Now, ideally, this position is relatively comfortable. For some of you, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. So what you can do is just lean away and until you find a comfortable position. Now, if you find that your knees are like way off the ground and this is just awful for you, you can grab something like a yoga block or a couch pillow and put it underneath your hips to elevate your hips a little bit. All right, so we're going to do two movements from here. The first one is going to be the internal rotation lift-offs. So whenever we're isolating a joint, in this case the hips, we want to pretend like everything else is frozen in a block of ice. So I'll show you the movement, and actually I'm going to show you from the side here. Okay, here we go. So when we're doing this movement, I'm just going to show it to you before I have you start your set. What we want to avoid is a lot of excess motion in the rest of the body. So really try to squeeze your abs and just focus on the leg, okay? Now this is true for really all of these exercises. The more you lean away from the leg that you're working, the easier it gets. The more you lean towards it, the harder it gets. Obviously, we want to make it harder and harder over time, but if you need to start by leaning significantly away, sometimes if you're really tight, you're even on your elbow, that's totally okay. Do what you can right now, not what you wish you can do in the future. Okay, so after we establish our position, we're going to squeeze our belly hard, and I'm looking at this leg. We're going to lift the knee off the ground, bring the knee straight up towards the ceiling, and set the foot down. This is the halfway point. Then we lift the foot back off and bring that knee straight back towards the ground. That's one rep. We're going to do 5, okay? So lift, up, set it down, lift, bring it down. Notice how the knee is staying in a straight vertical line. I'm not doing this big like scooping motion. So when I'm doing this exercise, I'm actually keeping my eye on that knee the whole time to make sure that it's moving in a relatively straight up and down direction. Good, that's 4. A little bit of clicking and popping in your hips is okay. I'm feeling that as well, as long as it's pain-free. And 5, very good. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and switch sides. Same idea. You may find that you may have to adjust your position a little bit on one side. It's pretty normal to be tighter on one side than the other. All right, so same thing. Squeeze the abs. After you find your position, we're going to lift the knee, bring it up and down, up, bring the knee down. Again, following that straight vertical line. You should be feeling this in your hip flexors and your glute, especially where like the back pocket of your jeans would be. And again, 5 reps. Ooh, I don't know if you could hear that pop, but my left hip is pretty grumpy. It pops a lot. Again, as long as it's not causing any pain, that's okay. Usually popping is just a sign of a little bit of joint dysfunction or residual stiffness. Ideally, the more you do this stuff, the more you'll see that subside. So evidently, I need to do this more. Okay, that's 5 reps. Next, we're going to do what's called the shin box. Okay, so I'm going to show you this one from kind of a 3/4 position. I should have mentioned this in the first exercise, but we're really focusing on one leg at a time, right? And so what I mean by that is you can really do whatever's comfortable with your back leg. Down the road, as we get more into intermediate and advanced variations, we do challenge both legs at the same time and challenge position. This video is not for that. So for now, you can fold your leg in, do whatever is comfortable. So this one is to work the glute of this front hip. Now, when we're accessing our hips, especially in this context, keeping a nice, tall, flat spine is really key here. The more we round out, the more it shuts the hip off. Okay, so I'll show you the movement again. So just hang tight while I show it to you one time, and then we'll do it together. So I'm gonna lean forward and put as much weight as I can get on this shin. I'm gonna drive this leg into the ground and lift up and push the hips forward. And then as I go back down, I'm gonna shoot the hips back, chest forward with a nice flat back, and roll back down. Some of you may be scoffing at that, like there's no way I can do that. As always, I got you, all right? So the modification here is gonna be to use your hands for as much as you need to. So that means maybe you're using your hands to push yourself up, guide yourself back down, or a little bit of both. It's fine as long as you're feeling your glute, all right? So we're gonna do 5 reps, here we go. Nice tall spine, lean forward until you feel that glute tense up, drive the leg into the ground, and then drive the hip back. So your hips are going back and forward. 2. As you can see, my leg's not in a perfect 90-degree angle, nor does yours need to be either. 3. 4. 5. Ooh, that peach should be pumping by now. Okay, let's go ahead and switch sides. Same idea, do whatever you want with the back leg because we're just focused on the front leg. All right, here we go. Nice tall spine. Use some assistance if you need to with your hands. Lean forward, drive the leg into the ground, and then push the hips back and chest forward, keeping that back nice and flat. 5 reps. 2. 3. See, for me, I'm not feeling too much of a challenge in my glute, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it a little harder by increasing the intensity of the position, more towards the 90-degree angle. Oh yeah, there we go. 4. I feel like I'm scooting towards the camera here. 5. Woo, okay, hips should be feeling pretty good. We're gonna move on to some hip flexion now for the hip flexors. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna do some hip flexion now. This is the hip flexors. Fun fact, a lot of our chronic knee and lower back issues actually come from weak hip flexors. So if you struggle with one or both of those things, this one's for you. We're gonna fold one leg in. It doesn't need to be like way cranked in here. It's kind of in this crisscross applesauce position. This one's kind of shut off. We're not using this leg. The other leg, it really doesn't matter how wide of an angle you go. What matters more is you pick a position that allows you to keep your legs straight, okay? Because too often I see a lot of people bending their knee. Here's the movement. We're just lifting the leg. I see them bending their knee. The problem with this is we're not fully accessing the hip flexor when we do that. So you need to pick a position that allows you to keep your leg locked out the whole set, okay? Remember, like I said, the more you lean towards your working leg, the harder it gets. The more you lean away, the easier it gets. So you choose what position works right for you. That may take some trial and error. Once you find that, we're gonna lock this leg out, so you should feel your quads, the top of your legs turn on. I like to point the toes as well. And then from there, we're gonna lift, hold it for a second, and then control it on the way back down. Lift. We're gonna do 5 of these. If you're feeling sadistic, you wanna increase the intensity, feel free to hold each rep for 5 seconds at a time. Good, okay, that's it, 5 reps. Or sometimes I'll do, the first 4 reps regular, and then on the 5th one, I'll hold it for like 10 seconds. Okay, so same thing, again, respect the fact that you may be in a different position from one side to the other, okay? Once you find your position, lock your leg out, point your toes, and lift. So like for me, my left side is much weaker than my right side. I'm working on it, but I have to respect that. 2, if I try to match my left side to my right, that's not gonna be good. I'm gonna compensate a lot. 3, 4, 5. Okay. Woo, we got one more exercise. We're going to do what's called hip abduction. This is for the part of the hip, the glute medius, kind of TFL for you anatomy nerds out there, area of the hip. Hip abduction is bringing the leg away from you. So if you have lower back issues, knee issues, IT band issues, your knees cave in when you're squatting, this one's for you. So let's go ahead and do it. All right, so again, we're back in this 3/4 position, so you can hopefully see the full gamut of the exercise. We're gonna start off on all fours, okay? From here, we're gonna take the working leg, the one that we're gonna be moving, we're gonna bring it out to the side. Remember, like I said earlier in the video, the flatter your back is, the more you're gonna access your hip. So think like if you've ever done the cat-cow before, we're really thinking about that cow position, okay? Keeping that spine extended. Now with this one, because all the other exercises, the more you lean towards the leg, the harder it gets. With this one, the more you lean back, the harder it gets. So the more you lean forward, the easier. Again, you choose. Like the previous exercise, the hip flexion, we want to make sure we're keeping the leg nice and locked out. And the back is flat and the core is tight. So everything's nice and tight. We're going to press into the floor and we're going to lift the heel off and then set it back down gently. You're connecting to the back pocket area of your glute, okay? 5 reps, here we go. And yes, we counted that first one. 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. All right, other side. I don't know about you, it's starting to heat up in here a little bit. All right, so same thing. Back is nice and flat. Lock the leg out. Find your position. That's going to take some trial and error probably. We're going to push into the floor and lift. So you might even be able to see it. I can definitely feel the difference in strength. This left side is just very grumpy. So see, even your coach has issues, guys. It's okay. 3, 4, 5. Okay. Woo, good job. So we just did one round. Now, even one round of this is going to be very effective for you. And for some of you, that may be where you start, and that's okay. Eventually, you're going to want to work up to doing 3 rounds, okay? And honestly, this is stuff you could do at least 2 to 3 days a week. This is a great way to warm up your hips for a lower body session. This is a great way to just put in those mobility deposits while you're watching TV. You know, you can find me doing this kind of stuff a lot. We talk about habit stacking, where you take an existing habit like watching TV or drinking your morning cup of coffee, and then take your new habit, in this case, the 4-way hip mobility sequence, and stack it on top. So while you're drinking coffee, you do a set of your exercise and then take a sip. Or you put your favorite show on and you're just doing these exercises because you're sitting there anyway. So 2 to 3 times a week, guys, is the minimum for something like this. 1 to 3 sets. Make sure you keep your backs flat, and you should notice a huge change in your lower body movements. See you next time.